All right, welcome everybody to our second regular council meeting of the year. It seems like we've already been through most of the year already. It's been so much going on. So Tuesday, January 21st, 2025, welcome to the regular city council meeting. We're going to start off tonight with the invocation given by Councilmember Dunn, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
Father in heaven, we are grateful to come together here to speak and to act on the place that we call home. Inspire in us imagination and wisdom to listen and to do what is right. Amen.
Amen. Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go ahead and call the meeting to order and take roll call. Councilmember, hold on. Councilmember Van Orman, sorry, I was trying to look at something here. Councilmember Kurtz. Present. Councilmember Ball. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Cargill.
Present.
Councilmember Spencer.
Present.
Councilmember Dunn.
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Present.
All right, all present and accounted for. Thank you. Next we have agenda approval. Do we have any modifications?
Mayor, one
Sure.
proposed amendment to add item 7B, which would be a presentation from Visit Spokane.
This was an oversight. We left it off the agenda. So we have a second.
Second.
Thank you. I get a second from Councilmember Spencer. All in favor of adding 7B, presentation from Visit Spokane, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Do we have any other? Councilmember Ball?
Yes, I would make a motion to,
Can you get closer to your mic?
oh, I'm sorry. I put it on a different side.
Move
To move, H10H, which is under the consent agenda, into general business.
Okay, so move to, let's say, let's just move it to the first item of general business. So we'll just move everything else down.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of moving general business, general business consent agenda H to first up under action items? Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Let me finish making a note here on mine. Okay, all right. Do we have any other requests for changes? All right, not hearing any.
Mayor will make the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Sorry.
We have a second by Councilmember Dunn. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. Okay, that brings us up to citizen comments. So go through my little spiel here. If you're in chambers and we'd like to make a comment, we have these little yellow half sheets by the door over there. Please fill one out and get it to our city clerk at the end of the table. If you're online, please send a note to our meeting host in the chat feature. We will take those after our in-person ones. 3-minute limit. This is strictly citizen comment. There's no back and forth with the council. If there's something we need to follow up on, please make sure we have your contact information so we can do that. Please keep comments respectful and I will, if you don't see the clock, there's a timer up there. I'll try to give you a verbal cue with 15 seconds left if I think you're going to run over. So up first we have Mark Saba.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, I'm Mark Saba. I am a resident of Liberty Lake. I'm up here to talk about the decision of the restaurants you guys are going to make tonight. I'm going to be pushing for the Saranac Public House. And here's the reason why I think we should be by having the Saranac over the Mexican restaurant. In the past, we had 4 Mexican restaurants here in town. We now have 3. That kind of proves to me that, hey, Liberty Lake can't support 4 Mexican restaurants. That's number 1. Number 2, a recent survey was taken, and 90% of the people that were surveyed want the Saranac Public House. And finally, the Good Eats Group, which was approved by council to come in and be the proprietor of the restaurant, had to pull out. That is very much a similar type of eatery as the Saranac is. So I'm urging you to vote for the Saranac as our new resident restaurant here at Trailhead. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, next up, we have David Clay.
Hello, I'm David Clay. I'm Liberty Lake resident. I'm here tonight to re-engage with the board and the mayor. Reference the secondhand smoke proposal I provided to you back in October. Since October, I've met with Representative Schmidt, who is very concerned with this issue as well. Matter of fact, she's had several people from Spokane reach out to her and voice their concern about the issues around secondhand smoke and the dangers associated with that. As of this morning, I reached out to and met with, spoke with Senator Christian's office. He is, as well as very interested in talking to me about this topic. I actually talked with him here when he was campaigning for his race. Spoke with him then. He was interested in hearing more about it. Unfortunately, his calendar is full, and he is willing to meet with me after the session. He did ask, and so did Representative Schmidt, what's Liberty Lake doing about it? Everybody wants to know what Liberty Lake's doing with this issue because in their mind, it's a city issue. I disagree. I think it's a citizen resident issue of all of ours. This is an initiative that will not impact our budget. It is no cost to implement, but it has huge gains and huge returns. So I'm asking you, actually, I'm urging you to reconsider the ordinance that I provided to you. I've actually spoke with many of you on the board about it and made some corrections and edits to that ordinance, nuisance ordinance. And I think if you'll go back and read that, you'll see that I've actually put in there the language that's in the Spokane Valley as well as how to enforce it. I've talked with the chief and the deputy. They've reviewed it. It is an enforceable policy or ordinance that if you would adopt, again, would not cost anything. And it takes into consideration every resident, every citizen in Liberty Lake and their right to breathe clean air. It's only going to get worse. If you've seen some of the bills that the state's proposing, the cannabis bills are flying off the shelf. It's going to become more of an issue. I think if we get on board, Liberty Lake takes a stand, your constituents that elected all of you, that, hey, we care about all the citizens, not just the small few that want to smoke cannabis, but those who are impacting those residents in their homes by smoking cannabis, that forces us to breathe that. So again, I'm urging you to reconsider it, take a look at it. I know the budget's done, so hopefully you'll have time to take a look at it. I'll be willing to work with anybody on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just let you know, we have a tentative workshop scheduled beginning of March.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Diane Baxter, if I'm reading this correctly.
Hello, I'm nervous, so I'm going to read.
It's okay.
My name is Diane Baxter, and although I'm a Spokane Valley resident, I enjoy several of the restaurants in Liberty Lake. And so I've been interested in the process that you're taking to find a leasee for the restaurant catering space at the Trailhead Golf Course. And so I have 3 quick points to make in favor of Chavalita's restaurant. First, the financial bottom line is vastly disproportionate. From what I understand, Saranac is asking for $530,000 from the city for tenant improvements, and they don't intend to repay that. There's no repayment set up. Chavalita's is asking for basically a loan of $200,000, which they intend to repay. And the 20-year return shows Chavalita's producing more than double the return to the city on top of their paid back loan. One comment was made by a council member that the difference in the return is really only $30,000 a year. I was shocked to hear this in a public comment from a council member. And the truth is the difference is $34,000 a year. And what could the city do with that extra money? And if you don't want it, I'll take it. From my understanding, your job is to get satisfactory lease agreement, and fiscally, Chavalita's clearly stands out as the logical choice. Second, there was a great difference in the thoroughness of the presentations. Saranac provided a photocopied menu, and a couple weeks later, some kind of a blueprint in black and white. Chavalita's provided a colorful multi-option vision board with a PowerPoint There was QR codes on there you could scan and you could do a virtual walkthrough of the space. They gave full color booklets to the council members. I heard one council member say that the businesses all made nice presentations, which flabbergasted me because lumping them together and calling them both nice was not fair to Chavalitas, who did so much more work. And third, the energy and dedication of the business owners themselves to the process was also unequal. The owners of Chavalitas were present for every meeting, while the owner from Saranac only showed up one time. When Chavalitas was given suggestions to alter their menu, they did so happily and provided new documents for you to see. When Saranac was given another chance to provide more of a vision for you, the owner sent an architect in with a black and white blueprint and didn't even bother to be present himself. He doesn't seem willing to fight for it, yet some of you on the board are still rooting for him for some strange reason. May I suggest that just on professionalism and energetic interests alone, your decision should have been made to choose Chavalitas already. However, the larger financial benefit to the city of Liberty Lake drives it home completely. So I urge you to vote for Chavalitas to enter into the lease contract. Thank you.
No, we don't do that. Thank you. Emily St. Pierre. I should have said that at the beginning. There's no cheering or booing in the chambers. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and attendees. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm a resident of Liberty Lake, and I'm here to urge you to select Chavalitas for the local restaurant lease, a decision that will bring significant benefits to our city. So let's start with the numbers. Chavalitas offers an estimated return of $432,000 within 10 years. That is 10 times the return projected by Saranac, which stands at just $43,000. Over 20 years, the difference becomes even more striking, with Chavalitas projected to generate over $500,000 more in revenue for our city. In total, going with Saranac leaves the city with $865,000 less in its coffers over the next 20 years. That's a level of financial impact you simply cannot afford to overlook. Moreover, Chavalitas is asking for a tenant allowance of only $200,000 compared to Saranac's $530,000. That's less than half the investment required, yet Chavalitas still delivers far greater returns. In addition to the financials, Chavalitas brings 34 years of experience in owning and operating their business, a full 19 years more than Saranac. This track record demonstrates a proven ability to sustain and grow a business successfully. Equally important is the level of preparation and professionalism displayed by Chavalitas. At the November 5 City Council meeting, they came fully prepared with a presentation, concept design, menu, and interior arrangement plans. They answered every question from council members with confidence and expertise. On the other hand, Saranac, out of all the proposals presented, was the only one that failed to prepare a presentation. So this raises concerns about their level of organization and their commitment to contributing meaningfully to our community. Ultimately, I think the choice is clear. We can invest more money in a business that will give us less in return, or we can choose Chavalitas, a business that offers the best financial impact, unmatched experience, and a proven commitment to excellence. So let's make a decision that benefits our city and its residents the most. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do we have anybody online? Oh, go ahead. Looks like I've got another one here. You. All right, we'll take this next one. Stephanie, I can't read. Please introduce yourself since I'm sorry, I can't read.
No, you're fine. I'm Stephanie Personic. I'm physician and owner of Inclusa Health and Wellness. And so I wanted to come and introduce myself today and also to invite everyone to come to our open house. So I've been a business for the last 3 years here in Liberty Lake, and I'm also a resident of Liberty Lake as well. So I opened my medical clinic in September of 2021, and we've grown from one patient in January of 2022 2 to now over 4,000 patients, serving most of Spokane County, as well as the cities surrounding. And so we actually just opened Inclusa Fitness and Nutrition. So we focus mostly on health and wellness as well as treating the whole patient. So our primary goal is not only to help patients manage their chronic conditions as well as chronic pain management, but now we have a fitness center as well as nutrition classes. And so we'll be introducing those at our open house on February 2nd from 1 to 4. We're located in the Portal Building, so we are in Suite 231, and we're opening this to the community here in Liberty Lake as well as around the city. And we are planning a lot of very fun and entertaining programs all throughout this summer. We're hoping to do some in the spring as well. We have actually 10 fitness instructors currently, and we also have 2 people that are doing nutritional classes. Some of them have been involved in public community events such as Second Harvest and some of our other organizations. We also cater to the Medicare population as well as Apple Health. And so we're looking at getting some grant money to help fund those patients to get some possible scholarships as well as some assistance with their memberships in our program. And so we're really trying to look for community involvement, also free programming throughout the summer, hopefully outdoors, as well as some fun cookouts and things like that. So we just wanted to make everyone aware that we were here. It's been a little bit of a private business for the first 3 years, but we hope to become much more community involved in the near future.
Great, thank you.
Can I get
Well-
her to repeat the name of the, I don't.
Oh,
I
it's
didn't-
Inclusa Health and Wellness.
Inclusa Health and Wellness is our clinic. Our secondary organization is Inclusa Fitness and Nutrition.
Inclusive.
Inclusa. Mhm.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
thank you.
and you can find us, like I said, in the Portal Building.
Okay, okay.
All right, I thought I'd seen you around. I work at Tier Point down the hall.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Do we have anybody online? No? Kelsey, do we have anything written in that you want to acknowledge?
We had one written public comment from Charles Kinebaum regarding the Trailhead Restaurant lease.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up, since we don't have any citizen comments, and just a note, we will have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. We are up to announcements, proclamations, and special presentations, and up first is Superintendent Dr. John Parker.
Mayor Kaminskas and council members, I'm delighted to be here once again. Last spring, I believe it was, I had a chance to address the council, and the purpose of this is just to have an opportunity to continue partnering with the local municipalities and city councils to inform them what's going on in the amazing Central Valley School District. Part of tonight, if I'm going to walk out of here and be successful, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to address some of the key things that's included in something that's a key publication that we provided this year called the Central Valley School District Report Card. Everyone's familiar with the report card. And one of the things that we felt it was going to be very important is to do a layout that is going to be indicative of key performance indicators for which we really ask our businesses and other individuals that are involved with real measurements of success. And what I'd like to do tonight is spend a very brief amount of time going through some of the key highlights of this, and then perhaps opening the floor if any council members have any questions. I'd love to answer those. A lot of wonderful things happening. Just as a culminating point, our strategic plan, that was a 5-year plan. It was a lesson plan similar to what you might have a teacher or a leader do as far as laying out what the roadmap is going to be for success. We wanted to provide something, and in the process, if you were to look at the first few pages, you're going to see that we took a look and redid our mission and vision, identified who we are, our commitments, and the work that I'm doing as basically the secretary to the board, and also in conjunction with our 5 amazing board members. The layout of the report card is such that you're going to see a series of red, yellow, and green markers that can indicate our progress and where we're going. You're going to see a lot of green, you're going to see a few yellow, and you're going to see some red. And the areas in red are areas that we are working hard to fix or really address as far as down to a school by school level or at a district level. One of the things I'd like to highlight in that first page here, actually it would be page 3, is who we are. This came out of the work we did as far as pulling a lot of individuals together for our strategic plan. We had over 40 individuals involved with this document that included business leaders. I think Mark McElvoy sat in on it. Thank you, Mark, for doing that. We have teachers, we have administrators, and most importantly, we have parents. Because parents and our students are the backbone of this organization. And one of the interesting points I really want you to walk away with are those 4 things that we felt are very important, in that we want to make sure in the next 5 years we're visionary, that we're dynamic, that we're inclusive, and also that we're adaptive. Being in a school district in this day and age really requires some an ability to be adaptive and to really work hard as far as making changes that are going to best suit the needs of what our students are requesting. Coming out of COVID, we all remember some of the challenges that we were seeing with kids, whether it was mental and emotional health needs, from the seclusion that they had being in front of computers and getting reintroduced into our school system, all the way to the academic needs that were ever more present and in the spotlight, especially when students were behind 1 and 2 grades often. This was a major undertaking for us. The other thing, if you were to turn to page 4, I just want to highlight there were 4 key directions that we wanted to look at. One of the directions was pursuing a culture of belonging and equitable opportunities for all, and that's all students. Direction 2, reimagining systems and structures. We found that out because we found that we really needed to revamp a lot of things that we were currently doing. Some of the items and systems we had to toss. Others we had to take, improve upon. Others we needed to include a lot more technology. Others still we had to come and adapt into the 21st century, even more so as far as certain areas, as far as where the needs were greatest for our students and families. And then we also, in direction 3, really prioritized what were we going to do to provide the supports needed for every kid to be successful. We're in the business of educating kids. That and academics and them being successful and graduating is our #1 goal. Not the starting line is not always the same for every kid. And so we are making sure that we are providing all the necessary support, and that direction 3 is critical. Direction 4 is one of my favorites. Direction 4 is launching infinite possibilities, and this is where that visionary piece comes in. I highlight these, and you're going to see a rather involved list of all of the specifics that were related to each one of the directions in the subsequent pages. And I'm not going to necessarily go into those, but we'll be happy at the end to take any questions you have. The layout you will see is that you're going to see the task we have, who is on point, what is some of the information and description of that item, how far to completion we were, and also any other information that we felt that we were going to be needing as far as providing an update, not only to the board, but members of our community. Because from the start, that accountability to our community and the transparency has been very important. So that's what you see over these next few pages. If you look on page 8, I'm not going to go into all these details, but you can always look at this. Always get in touch with me. Happy to speak with you, or a member of my leadership team would be happy to reach out. We took a look at student learning and success. On there, you're going to see smarter balance trends. You're going to see things related to career and technical student organizations, industry recognized certifications, because some of our students really, that's very near and dear to their heart. And also something else that's a KPI, that seal of biliteracy. We have a growing population of students that are coming to us from other countries that we can even get to them to a place of of receiving the seal of biliteracy, which ups their application process, the possibilities for them to get included and admitted into four-year institutions, and also make them have a stronger resume even for the jobs that they're going towards. If you look at the rest of the few pages, you're going to see a number of items on there. I could go on as a proud superintendent of all the things we're doing here, but I'll let you look at that on your own, and please feel free to reach out. On page 14, you're going to see that we also have some indicators that we're going to be charting over the next few years related to high performance of school staff. You're going to see teacher quality measures, the amount of training that we provide our staff, operational things that we're looking at as far as nutrition service, who are riding our buses, facilities, technology. So those are some of the items that we are highlighting in the high performance school staff. On page 16, you're going to see community and parent engagement. This by far was one of the primary and key points that the school board and I looked at together and said, how do we liaise with our families more? How do we get more student voice? How do we hear what the parents are looking for? And having really good, solid representation from our community, because as coming on board as a superintendent, that was one of the things that our community felt very, very strongly about. Even so much, you're going to look at all of the parent participation with committees that are involved there. So you can take a look at that. By the way, it's CVSD meritorious award time, and that is currently going on. So that is a very significant event that happens in the school district to recognize some of those outstanding performers, individuals that are involved on a day-to-day basis. If you look at page 18, our last section on the report card is high reliability district systems. You're going to notice in there things related to the audit. It's no mystery, and the reason I share with you that we had some challenges a couple of years ago with our budget and some of the fiscal side, I share that with you to also share the fact that we are bouncing way out of that, and we are in a very positive, sustainable path that's really, really important. Let me give you one indicator, because I know that this would be an important marker to the council, but it's also an important marker to our community. In the state of Washington, there's 295 school districts. 31 of the school districts in the state were identified as being a district in concern based on their fund balance and other items. Central Valley was one of those. That was not a badge of honor I wear proudly, but we're going to take that on, and we've taken that on. Recently, I wanted to give you one indicator of just the success we've been able to have. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Moody's rating system or Moody's out of the Midwest, but they basically give bond ratings to school districts across Washington state. The reason I bring that up is Central Valley School District, by virtue of the strong growth that we have in the area, incredible enrollment. This year we went up 430 students above what we had projected. That's significant, and that's far more than any of the neighboring districts. When we presented all this to Moody's, we were one of 4 out of 31 districts that maintained our stellar AAA rating. And that's huge regarding our levies, our bonds. And so that's an outside marker that indicates we're on the right path here. So just wanted to share a little bit about that. Of course, we're very grateful for those individuals that helped us pass our EP&O levy, and also pass the first ever capital improvements tech levy that we had. So we're very pleased about that. And we're getting started already as far as all those projects related to that. And that has been front and center in all of our board meetings lately. So I just wanted to end on the last page, just to give you a general idea of who we are in the district, the demographics, the enrollment, and as well as the various different programs that we have, so you can kind of see that. The report card is something that we also shared at our community link events, And we're proud of the progress, but by no means have we finished or arrived. We've got a long ways to go, but we have a real strong commitment to that. And again, partnerships with, whether it's the Spokane Valley Chamber of Commerce, whether it's Spokane Workforce Council, whether it's the Liberty Lake City Council or Spokane Valley City Council, we want to make sure that we're keeping all of you informed about what's happening in this amazing school district. So with that, I'd like to open it up, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of those.
Anybody? Councilmember Ball.
The 435, I think you said, additional students are more than you thought.
Can you get
More
closer?
than you thought you were gonna have. Are they Liberty Lake, people, or where, I mean, where exactly are they?
Great question. We don't have it broken down by Spokane Valley versus Liberty Lake, but it is definitely slanted more towards a large number on the Eastern Learning Community, for which Liberty Lake is a part of, rather than the Spokane Valley.
Right.
But it's also encompassing 80 square miles, our district. So it's hard to say where that's coming, but a lot of new enrollment here on the eastern side.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else? Councilmember Dunn.
I just want to say thanks for the outreach, Dr. Parker. I celebrate the partnerships we have with the agencies that we all serve as, we serve common patrons and constituents. I'm a proud parent of 2 graduates of Central Valley High School. Though I don't have students in the district anymore, I'm proud and continue to value and support all the performance and the actions taken by the administration to make the district what it is. So, thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'll be sure to relay that to the team and the board.
Anybody else? No, great update. Really appreciate it. If we have any extras of these, we can put them on the table if anybody here wants one. Look forward to their next update. All right, now we added Visit Spokane, but I don't see Rose here. I did text her a little bit ago and but I have not heard back from her. Mark, have you seen anything?
I have not.
Okay. So I guess for now, let's assume that Visit Spokane is not going to be here. Sorry for the add to the agenda. We'll follow up with her tomorrow. And we will move on to reports and inquiries. First, City Council. Are there any City Council members who'd like to give any reports on what's been happening in the last couple weeks?
Go ahead.
Councilmember Ball, go ahead.
I just wanted to report that I did attend the first active shooter training at the police station. I know Councilmember Kennedy was there and a few of the commission people. There's 2 more. I believe one is next week and then one is on the 28th. It was well worth it. I learned so much, like how to identify what's weird, like this guy looks weird, and what to do, in defense, and first aid tips too. So, you're in an active shooter situation and somebody's hurt. They showed us how to do a tourniquet. I didn't know how to put a tourniquet on. It's a scary subject, but boy, it was really interesting. And Sergeant Jordan Soul is the teacher. He said it's normally a 4-hour course, but he condensed it to an hour and a half. So it was, it was rapid, but it was great. I mean, didn't you think it was great, Mike? I did.
It was outstanding.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Dunn.
Over at STA, you may have seen some press about the the delivery of 2 double-decker buses. The agency received those to support the route to Cheney. That's one of the largest and it's most well-earned. This lets them operate a bus in some reasonable overall length, but with an increased passenger capacity. They're often standing room only when they leave the plaza headed for Cheney. So the buses will be put into service in September.
Right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other, Mayor Pro Tem?
Excuse me, 2 quick inquiries here. I got a call from the president of the Spokane Valley Liberty Lake Spokane Valley Baseball League, and Mark, you know exactly where I'm going with this, who said that they had a little bit of concern about the upcoming season, which, despite the weather outside, will be here before we know it, regarding the use of our baseball fields. Last year, apparently, we charged about $3,500 for the league to use the fields. This year, apparently, we're charging about $15,000 for the league to use the fields. And I'm not really sure all the details about that. And I've put an email into Mark and to other city staff to try to find out more details about that. But I'm hoping, and I will be asking later on in the meeting for us to put a discussion on a future council meeting to talk a little bit about that, hopefully before spring arrives. And then the other thing I was going to mention, I'm sure most people saw it online as well. There was a lot of discussion about the removal of basketball hoops from the cities, from the city streets, and all of that. So again, I don't know much about that particular issue, but I will be suggesting once we get to future workshops for us to at least discuss that and figure out if we need to make any changes or if the city policy is fine where it's at. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to bring everybody up to date. Everybody recall, we lost Craig Howard, a reporter of the Splash, some time ago. Craig was a huge asset to the city, even though he did not live here, but he was our voice on a monthly basis. He was very supportive of a lot of things we did here, and it's going to be a true loss of what we have there. What we initially did was immediately form a memorial fund for a park bench that's going to be installed here at City Hall. I met with Mark here this last week. We looked at a couple optional places it could be. Pretty much idea would be in it coming into the entrance. I wanted to give everybody an update where we are with that. To have it all done, it's about a $2,000 item to have that done. The city is graciously will do the installation on that. Today we raised just a little over $1,000. And on the committee, individuals we have there are Ben Wick is on the committee, Laura Frank, Tim Olson, Arlene Fisher, Betty Kennedy, and myself. What I encourage individuals to do, if you have any questions in regards to that, please contact any individuals that I've mentioned. We certainly would encourage additional funding. We're trying to make as many contacts as we can to get the additional funding there, and hopefully within a few months have that installed. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, any other reports or inquiries from council? Not seeing any. I'll jump over to my mayor's report. The GSI legislative update started last week. I'm going to try, as I attend those each week, to do what I did last Friday. I'm just going to take notes live and then shoot them off to you guys. If you have any questions, again, they are unedited, just notes from the lobbyist and what he's sharing. And when I start doing the AWC ones, I will do the same. I sent you guys an email. Most of you probably haven't seen it yet with regards to Senate Bill 5251. This is in regards to an RCW with regards to the lodging tax that goes, we've got the Lodging Tax Advisory Board, and we talked about it a little bit during the budget process where we have $250,000 sitting in one of those accounts, but they cannot go toward capital projects for the nonprofits. So Senator Christian is sponsoring the bill. And testimony is being heard Thursday morning. So I've sent everybody the link if you want to sign up to do remote testimony. I think you have, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have to sign up 24 hours before. So if you can sign up tonight, that'd be great. Or you can send in your support. So what this would do, it would adjust the RCW to allow those funds to be used for capital projects for nonprofits that are where the project is related to tourism related projects. Obviously the hub's expansion is. This could also affect the Spokane Valley Performing Arts Center to allow Spokane Valley to give some of those tourism, those lodging tax funds to the Performing Arts Center to help with that, because it all goes for tourism. What wasn't included in the email I sent you guys was a recap of the financial impact to the surrounding communities from the hub. Phil's going to get that to me tomorrow. I didn't need that in order to register. So when I get that tomorrow, I'll forward it to you guys. So happy to, if you guys want to just let me testify and say I've got your support, I'm happy to do that. Or if you guys want to call in as well, I'm sure the more voices, the better. But this would be a great opportunity. And really, the RCW has been in place for a while. I think it kind of goes back to what some of the original thoughts were around it. And I just, and Phil's comment was nobody probably ever thought a nonprofit would be putting together capital projects that affect tourism. So hopefully there'll be a lot of support for it. And if you can testify, that'd be great. We are reconvening our AWC bylaws committee in order to get those updated for in time for the conference in June. We tried to have it done by the last year's conference, but there are so many changes with population changes and things like that, that we erred on the side of caution and are meeting again this spring so we can bring a complete package to the board and the members to vote on at the June annual meeting. Our next GMA steering committee is next week. I am judging one of the events for the Future Business Leaders of America next Friday. I don't know what category I have. I need to check in on that. Hopefully the last time I did this, it was the interview session, which was very interesting. After that, I volunteered at Ridgeline to help coach on interviewing because it didn't go so well for some of the kids. So anything we can do as a community to help those kids be more confident in job interviews, I think the better. And one last thing, I don't know, most of you probably aren't on the Otis Orchards Facebook page, but somehow I am. And in case you guys hear, there are there's 5 parcels, 3 owners who have petitioned Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District to annex those parcels into Sewer and Water District for sewer purposes. And of course, Liberty Lake's taking over Otis Orchards. I tried to squash it as much as I could.
Yeah.
I talked to Nada and I talked to BJ. I even did some research and provided that to the community members. I pointed them to, these are the questions you need to ask the county. This is where the request came from. It wasn't initiated by the city or the Sewer and Water District. So if you hear any of that, that's what's going on. Because it may make the rounds. So that's all I've got for now. Oh, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. I know you didn't want anything real public, but I want to congratulate Annie Kurtz for achieving her Advanced Certificate of Municipal Leadership from AWC. So we promise no, we're not going to do pictures or anything, but congratulations. Now I think I'm done. No, so on to city administrator report.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and our guests who are joining us in the chamber tonight and online. If you'll take a look at the events and reminder section, a couple of things to remind everyone of. We have Thursday, day after tomorrow, over at the Trailhead Rotary Room, the Liberty Lake Police Department is putting on a fraud awareness and prevention class. And I don't know if this is coincidental or not, but it happens to coincide with Identity Theft Awareness Week, which is January 27th to 31st. And so if you're interested in that, if you're concerned about it, you do have to go online and register, but I believe there are still seats left. So if you're interested in that, go take a look and consider registering. Second item, which is coming up a week from tomorrow, our longest tenured employee, who's our chief building inspector, Wayne Hammond, is retiring. And his kind of farewell ceremony is going to be over at Field House starting at 4:30. Wayne has been part of the city since November the 26th of 2001. And so if you've crossed paths with Wayne in any capacity as a volunteer, a council member, an employee, a developer, a homeowner, a business owner, we would invite you to come out and celebrate Wayne's, not only his retirement, but the duration of his long tenured employment with the city. He's done great things while he's been here, and we wish him all the best in his retirement. Following that, this is a little bit farther out, but I wanted to give everybody a heads up. The police department is sponsoring a grant writing workshop, and so this is open to the public. There is a fee associated with it. It is posted both on the website, I believe, and our social media accounts. So if you're interested in learning how to engage the grant writing process and get some tips and techniques for writing more successful grant proposals, come on out. This is a 2-day class. Like I said, there is a fee involved, but the registration information is available through the city's specifically the police department's social media feed where this item is on there. This is going to be February 13th and 14th at the police department, and it's a 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Session for 2 days. So it's a time commitment, but it's a skill building workshop, and we're happy to have a couple of seats that we're going to put some staff through, so we'll get the benefit of having the training at the police department in the city as well. So Following that, I sent out an email to council members this afternoon. I know you haven't had a chance to look at it, but I wanted to get it out before briefing you on this item. We've talked before about the strategic investment plan workshop. This is related to our capital improvement plan, and specifically the investments associated with infrastructure development in the city. And so we've narrowed the window. Last time we had it as to be determined. We've narrowed the window down to March 17th through 29th. And so when you see the email that I've sent, go in, fill out the scheduling survey so that we can get a sense of who's available when, so we can get this schedule finalized, get it on the calendar, and start planning for it. Any questions about those events before we move on? All right, very good. So this is the second meeting of the month, and so we have distributed the department reports, and we'll give council an opportunity to ask department heads about those. Before we get into those, Mayor Pro Tem, we're still compiling information so that we can get a fuller answer out to the full council. But the short answer on the Little League question is that thus far, the Little League has requested access to the fields or reservation of the fields for every hour of every day for multiple months. And so when you apply that time to the unit cost, that's where that cost comes from. So if we can work with them to kind of identify what exactly they need, that cost will come dramatically down. So
Thank you.
so now I open the floor up for questions about departmental reports.
Anybody? Go ahead, Councilmember Dunn.
Yeah, I just want to shout out for Derek and the works reporting. Lots of pictures. I like that. Gives a good idea what the staff's up to, at least in parks. Thanks.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to comment in regards to the folks who put these reports together. I do appreciate that. I really do. I read all of them that come in. It doesn't generate a lot of questions, which is fine, because I think you guys are so detailed in what you're giving that information with me to move forward and make decisions as a council member is very, very good. So I compliment all of you and the marketing staff for being able to be so detailed with that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilmember Van Orman.
I did see in Lisa's, regarding the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, before we award that contract, how much of that, once it's awarded, will be out to the public so they can be involved in it?
Well, and I'll let Lisa contribute any additional context. There is and you'll see when it comes before you for consideration, there is a full public engagement phase of the project that will allow for and prioritize the engagement piece with the community throughout the scope. Anything that you would like to add?
Obviously, public engagement is a huge part of the Parks and Recreation planning. We're really looking to have the consultant lead us through a thorough needs assessment and really identify what we need for our city moving forward towards build out. And so that's going to be, and that's going to happen. We're probably going to do this in a couple phases. We're going to do the needs assessment first, and then we'll do the second half of it, which is really trying to then put together the capital facilities concept for those parks and what we need to do. And, but we will be looking at goals and policies and needs as the first round. And that involves a lot of public engagement.
It does. Can you elaborate on how much time frame are we looking at?
So the time frame is we need to get this done by the end of the year. Mikhail and I are sitting down with the preferred consultant to work out a scope. We're hoping to bring it back to you in February for approval, and we should be wrapping it up probably in the October-November timeframe.
Right, sure. All right, thanks. Oh, Councilmember Spencer.
Yeah, this is going to be more of a comment just on the PD report. I had talked to Deputy Chief during the last meeting, just kind of asking about these individuals who have been reporting on Facebook and showing, video from their Ring cameras or whatever. But I just wanted to point out from their report and just read this last paragraph to assure the citizens that PD is on it. They said there were multiple reports of people attempting to steal packages off the residential porches. Officers continue to make proactive contacts with any suspicious vehicles seen throughout the community that they may be looking for easy targets. The Liberty Lake Police Department would also like to remind everyone to be vigilant when securing your homes and automobiles. The vehicles and homes that have been reported as being stolen and burglarized in recent cases have been left unsecured. So just be vigilant, lock your stuff up, put your cards away.
Take your garage door openers out of the cars if they're outside.
And if I can follow up on that, if you may have noticed, I think it was today, on our social media feed, we had an announcement about a job posting that is called an investigative analyst. What that position specifically is designed to do is to help the PD analyze trends and data and more proactively plan patrols around hotspot activity indicators that makes patrol and investigations more effective. And so that's coming. And so that will aid in that effort as well.
Great.
All right, great. Mayor Pro Tem.
Real quick question, Mark, maybe a question for Kyle as well on the expense report through the end of December. Is there anything big outstanding here? Or are we really going to be 52% of budget in public works and 83 in the total and 70% in planning? I assume there are things still outstanding.
Yeah, I'm going to let Kyle address that from just a budget perspective.
Yeah, so we had a couple come in right at the tail end for our construction projects. So Halmy for some work over on Appleway, and then buttoning up some of the final parts projects for 2024. Overall, nothing major that you're going to see. All of a sudden, one of these is going to be at 95, 98.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? Okay.
The 2025 Community Satisfaction Survey, I'm going to probably talk about this at every council meeting just to keep it front and center. I introduced it last time. We have sent out the first round of invitations. They've gone out. Thus far, we're pleased with the response so far. After a week, approximately, we're approaching 100 responses. Our target is somewhere between 500 and 550. And so we've got a ways to go, but we're going to continue to promote this through all of our channels and through all of our commissions and other channels so that we can get the word out and just continue to reemphasize the importance of the information that we get so that we can use it to make decisions, allocate resources, do all of those things that we do when it comes to going into the 2026 budget cycle. And so that we can be confident that these results are statistically significant. We need that 500 to 550 response. So if you get an invitation, we encourage you to complete the survey and make a big impact at City Hall. Any questions about that? All right, and finally, this is just kind of an introductory kind of a signal of a conversation to come. We, as you know, there's been some changes, or maybe you don't, there's been some changes within the Winter Glow leadership. And so the new leadership approached city staff and indicated that they are interested in having the city take on a more active role in the presentation of the Winter Glow Spectacular. And so we're not here today to do anything other than let you know that the conversation will start soon to figure out what that may mean and what that looks like. We've got a lot of analysis to do. We've got a lot of questions to ask. But I didn't want this to come to you through some other channel and for you to wonder what was going on. And so as this conversation unfolds between the staff and the new leadership team, we will put that together and at some point when we're ready and believe we have all of the information to make some recommendations, we'll bring that forward to you so that we can share that and get a sense from the council how you would like us to proceed. Any questions about that?
Councilmember Kennedy.
Not so much question as a comment. I made some notes in reference to that when I saw Winter Glow. I appreciate the current information on that. My recommendation would be, as we move forward with Winter Glow, that has been so successful for the city that we're becoming extremely well-known in the areas. This is a great place to come to during that month of about 5 weeks that it's done. We have tremendous amount of volunteer hours that put that together, and it's much appreciated that all of those are involved on it. My recommendation would be is that the city looks at expanding that to the point of including such as trailhead fencing around the driving range. If you look at something like that, it's a tremendous amount of area that some lights could be put on it, not on the inside where the golf balls would be, but on the outside with that. So my recommendation would be is that for maybe a combination between Winter Glow individuals involved in that and Parks and Art to look at maybe expanding that within the city. I think that's something as we move on would be outstanding. And what I would encourage you to do is don't take any funding away from the area where we are doing it now. It would be additional funding for the trailhead. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we look forward to getting some of those numbers and talking about a plan. Thanks, Mark. Anybody else have any questions for Mark before we move on?
So if not, that concludes my report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me get back to my agenda here. All right, next up, we have Parks and Arts Commission. Welcome, Nancy Hill.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, everyone. We're starting off the year with a bang and getting ready to move forward, and I have slides somewhere, I think, Evan. I'll start off by saying that the map is up at the Trailhead building. If you've gone into the pro shop area, you've seen it, and it looks absolutely spectacular. So I encourage you to go and take a look. The artist did an incredible job. You might recall she's the one that also did the Hoop Town USA court murals in Pavilion Park. Very nice local artist. Also, that was our carryover project from 2024. The other one, the Liberty Lake Together Art, which is Kramer Parkway and Country Vista, still a work in progress and still looking at a spring installation. Need to be able to get the infrastructure in there and get it set up, but we're excited about completing 2024 sometime in 2025. To that effect, next slide. We have created a roadmap. I saw the Central Valley Superintendent mention roadmap, and roadmaps are extraordinarily handy. We have a lot of different projects. A lot of them are little. You don't need to read the fine print on that, but just know that we have a plan. And we'd really like to finish all the projects in the same year. We are at the mercy of other people on that to some extent, but this is our plan. And to that effect, next slide. So our first priority we realize is our long-term projects, which is our Liberty Lake Art Together, which is our sculpture project, like the one that's going in at Kramer Parkway. And then our new category, you may recall, which is our community art. Those are long lead projects because they are sculptures. So at 1st of January, we've already gotten out. We're on top of it. We sent out a call for qualification describing the two projects, and we're looking for some applicants to come in that will have an interest in doing that, and then we'll take a look. The Liberty Lake Together Art is going to be this is at the Mission Roundabout, so the other side of Kramer Parkway. That roundabout looks kind of naked over there, so we'll have something that will reflect our Liberty Lake Together there, and we'll let you know as those events unfold. I'm most excited about the community art, which is going to be our first goat statue. See, I did listen at the workshops. And the Town Square Arch, as you enter the farmer's market, we're really hoping to place something along in there. In the call for qualifications, we have asked that it be user-friendly, especially for children. What we want to do is introduce art to the kids of Liberty Lake. So we want to have something that's relatable to them and that will greet our entire community and farther out from that as they enter our very popular farmers market. And then as we eventually develop the Town Square property out, it will serve as the west entrance to that area once it's developed. So we're super excited about that and really hope we get a lot of people responding to the request for qualifications. Next project, next slide, and next project. These are kind of different projects for us. The Pavilion Park Playground upgrade, which is scheduled for gathering input and figuring out what we want to do this year, and then the installation next year. If you recall, that is the life cycle of the park playground equipment is coming to an end. So we need to decide if we're going to do something in kind or we're going to kind of reinvent the wheel. We already got some feedback from the community at the last Barefoot in the Park, and there's been a lot of conversation about people wanting stuff more for the younger kids and then the older kids and then being co-located so a parent could be in the middle and take a look. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the community even more. So we're going to be discussing that at our February meeting, and then we hope to engage the Community Engagement Commission in helping us gather that information. I assume that farmers markets will be a big part of that. We may do some kind of a little town hall or a little open house gathering, maybe more Post-it notes somewhere. Again, at Barefoot in the Park is an opportunity. But we want to have a solid suggestion for you folks as you make the financial decisions moving forward with that. It's my understanding in the budget, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, as we look out to 2026, that there is some kind of a placeholder number for replacement like equipment. So we'll see what happens with that and what the cost is and how it would be arranged on the property, and at least we'll be off to a good starting point. So that's kind of a big and new project for us. The other is the recreational opportunities. We haven't delved into that a whole lot. And now that Mikhail is here as the city's recreation specialist, we can work with him more on having little classes for kids or a basketball workshop or a skateboard clinic or whatever it might be. We're looking at a lot of possibilities. Mikhail has a bunch of lists and he's doing a really good job on providing us input. So we'll look forward, based on the survey from 2024, a lot of information was gathered at the library event over Halloween, I believe. And we'll look and see how we're going to move forward with that and what our suggestions may be. Next slide. And finally, we have gotten rid of that ugly junction box. Wow. Here we put this nice, never forget, garden in with the help of the DAR, and we had that junction box. So we waited till Winter Glow was unplugged, and that's been taken care of by an electrician. And but now it looks like we have a new wrap project because now we have a box. But that will be much easier to deal with than the ugly electrical tower. So we'll pick something patriotic that reflects the Never Forget Garden and really kind of neaten up that area. And I believe that is all my slides.
Great.
Do you have
Thanks.
any questions?
Great updates, Councilman Burball.
What are those red blocks that are sitting out in Orchard Park now? I've noticed those. There's a bunch of them.
Oh, I can almost see them in
Do you
this
see what I'm
picture.
talking
I
about?
do, but I don't know what they are.
There are a lot.
They're probably left over from Winter Glow covering some of the boxes.
Oh.
I'm getting nods.
Oh, Mark's, yeah. Oh.
In a literal sun. And park itself was too wet.
Oh.
We would have torn it up if we would have taken off. So we're waiting for a hard, they're waiting for a hard freeze or a dry out in order to get them. Just remnants of.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I do have one more question.
Can you
Nancy.
get-
On the goats,
Yeah.
so you're doing a call for artists, I assume. Who did do you know who did the garbage goat in Spokane? Cause he's awesome.
Sister Marianne Turnbull.
I was gonna say, I believe it was a sister. Yeah.
Oh, well, you should talk to her.
There's actually a company, 509 Metalworks, I believe it is, that did a replica of that for, I believe it was GSI, that actually, they use it at, or Visit Spokane, they use it at shows and it gathers business cards.
Oh.
So I'll get you the info for that company, Nancy, if you want to send them something.
Yeah,
see if they're
yeah. I mean,
interested.
it's not a recall to artists, it's a request for qualifications. Because what we found out when we did a call to artists, that's very specific where they're submitting a design and it requires work on their part that they're not getting paid for. So we're going first with the request for qualifications to hopefully get a larger pool and then move forward with that as we drill down.
And Sister Turnbull is no longer with us.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Passed away in 20.
Yeah.
I do
Oh.
love that goat.
Oh.
And so does every kid that's ever seen it.
Well, yeah,
We
my
wanted you-
grandson thinks it's just, well, amazing, yeah.
Right. Well, hopefully we'll have our own piece
Exactly.
of goat art that's going to be very kid friendly. I'm really excited about that project.
Yeah.
So
And-
Nancy, just to confirm, your earlier point, 2026 is when the playground structure is budgeted. for
Yeah,
replacement.
that's what I thought. 2025 is the gathering information year and 2026, hopefully implementation. And that could be really a fantastic project for the city, for one of our premier parks. So excited to see what the community wants.
Sounds like you got your work cut out for you.
Yes, all of a sudden
Thanks.
getting a lot of work. Yes.
Councilmember Kurtz.
When you were talking about the play equipment and engaging people in the community about that, I'm wondering if you might want to try to focus where some of the parents are, such as the school district, the daycares, some of the places where the kids are and the people that would be sitting in the park, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And we're really, we loved it. Barefoot getting a lot of the kids' input, which was really big slide or, so parents, the parents we were able to talk to all wanted benches. So it is good to get everyone's opinion. I completely agree. And those are excellent suggestions. Thank
You
you.
might even be able to do something with the kids actually having input on what they would like.
Mhm.
I remember being like in kindergartens. Anyway, being in kindergarten and they asked us what we wanted the state animal to be.
Oh.
Like to have like that level of input at 5 was, so to have some input into a park in your community might be kind of cool too.
That's a great idea. We're excited to work with the Community Engagement Commission and see what ideas they have. And yeah, thanks again for the suggestions. That's great.
Okay, thanks
right.
again. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District. Hello, Bill.
Not a lot to report. Waters are flowing, sewer is being taken care of. So it's kind of a slow season, we're working on cleaning up some construction jobs that we've had. Site plans we're gonna put another fill station in over by the treatment plant so that when people need to get water for palliative construction, they can come over there with their trucks and fill their water. We don't want them filling out of the hydrants, so that's why we've locked all the hydrants because that became a problem for a while. So the state has a system of measuring contaminated water. And so it's called UCMR5. And the 5 only represents, this is the 5th iteration of this process. So we've had our water tested through 3, 4, and 5, and we're below the limits. So we don't have. There's probably some PFOs and PFAs in our water, but it's below the required limit. So basically, we can't detect it. And the problem with detection is that instruments are getting more sophisticated. So every time they come out with a new instrument, they can measure at a much lower level. So far, we're in good shape with that. We had an interesting webinar the other day on First Amendment auditors. And you should all be aware of that, and I'm sure Mark is. And I looked around when I came in tonight and I noticed that you have good signage. You need to train the front desk people to make sure when these people come in, they only want to take pictures of stuff. That's their deal. They want to agitate. They just want to be disruptive. And then they post this. And in some cases, they get paid for that. So it was interesting. Just be aware that these people are out there and they have a right to come. This is a public facility. Ours is a public facility. So it was important for our front desk people to know what to look for and how to react to it, which is basically don't react. Other than that, it's getting cold out. Make sure you open under your cabinets and maybe let a little water trickle once in a while so we don't freeze the pipes. the water will flow until it won't. Any questions?
No, thanks, but thanks for bringing up the First Amendment auditors. I know the PD is very well experienced with that, but I never thought about how that affects us here at City Hall and other facilities. Thanks.
It's a problem on the west side because there's people that do this for a living. We haven't been as active over here. Another thing that I might mention, I'm sure you're all aware of that, and it's it has to do with your financial disclosure for all elected people. So you need to get that on. It's pretty easy. It's on a website. All you have to do is, if you've been here before, it's pretty easy to do it. The first time takes a little time. But it's a requirement for the state.
We all get our reminders.
To get
trust me.
those.
Lots of them.
Religiously.
Well, there's a fine if you don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
And one of our guys knows that, so. Okay, that's it.
Great, thanks. All right, we will move on to our workshop discussion for residential recycling services. Again,
So as Ben is making his way up to the podium, I'll kick this off by asking the council to remember back to last May of 2024. We started a conversation at that time about the pending expiration of the solid waste and recycling collection agreement that we have with WM, made some recommendations and ultimately council voted to extend that contract, which happened at the end of November. The new contract is in effect. It took effect on December the 1st of 2024, and it is set to expire on November the 30th of 2030. And so through that conversation between the initial kickoff in May and when the contract was approved, there was a sub conversation regarding several of the services. And so in my tenure here, I've had one conversation with a resident regarding recycling services. And the question that was asked of me is why at that time, and this is going back to last April, why is it a requirement for garbage subscribers to also be recycle subscribers? And at the time, the basis of the argument was that we used to get a credit and now we don't, so it's more expensive. So I want the option of being able to choose whether or not I'm a recycle customer. Well, as you all know, the current agreement, at least in this year, the commodity credit is back and it's higher than it's ever been. I want to say it's $3.96. And so Ben is going to talk about what that impact has, the commodity credits impact has on the monthly rate. But with that, we just wanted to kind of walk you through some feedback we got from WM and some other information, and then just let a conversation unfold about recycling services. And this is specifically focused on residential accounts in the city. And so with that, I'll turn the floor over to Ben.
All right, thanks, Mark. Evan, can you go to the next slide, please? We don't need to see the picture of Conex boxes. Skip over that. So tonight we're just going to really go over, a quick 101 overview of the current recycling services. If you're a resident of Liberty Lake, you probably already know most of this stuff. Like Mark said, we did meet with Waste Management last week, kind of talked about this, kind of initial discussions with them, impacts that we can share a little bit with you. That's still kind of ongoing. We also could go over the resident satisfaction survey results from 2024. Spoiler alert, very good for recycling and garbage services for the city. There are some legislative churnings going on with a House bill and a Senate bill to kind of help increase the amount of recycling that's been going on in the state. We can go a little bit over that and then just kind of go over the discussion next steps. So next slide, please. All right, so I think everybody's aware we receive our recycling services through Waste Management. It's an auto subscription service. If you have garbage service, you're automatically enrolled in recycling services. It's the same as it is in Spokane County, things like that. And like I said, current resident satisfactions levels with Waste Management, our satisfaction levels are really 90% or a little bit above based on 2024 survey results. So very good, especially for garbage service. Some of the key takeaways from our meeting that we had with Waste Management leadership, obviously, if you change to more of an a la carte option, it's going to change the cost, and most likely it will increase the cost. Now, like Mark mentioned about the the credit, that's a market forces thing. So some years if the cost of aluminum is higher or the price for aluminum is higher, we're gonna get a better monthly cost, gonna lower for the citizens. So that's just gonna fluctuate from year to year as we've seen the last few years. If we take that, now I can see, okay, I only want to pay for recycling when the getting's good during that year. But that would obviously, we don't know how much, but Waste Management's take a look at that, and they're probably the next month or so, they will tell us how much that would actually, because that'll increase the rates for all citizens, not just the folks that don't want to pay for recycling. And obviously, if you have any questions, please. feel
What,
free
it
to-
says 2024 up
Sorry, what was
there. Don't you mean 2025 expected?
Well, sorry, that is a typo. Good catch. So they're in the process of completing their audit now. They actually have already found almost 100 accounts in the city of Liberty Lake that don't have both. Either have garbage service or they have recycling service. So they're going through their audit right now. They let us know that when we met with them last week. And so those results will be completed next month. We'll kind of look and see how many kind of fell through the cracks. And we don't know where these folks came from. It may be long-term time residents that kind of predated the current waste management contract, more than likely, but we'll get those results. And then just regional consistency, like I said, go ahead.
You talked about that the cost would go up if they were separated. Did they give any explanation for why, like what drives the cost up?
I think it just makes it harder administratively to manage the contract.
I think, and we specifically asked them not to provide us with a financial analysis because that's a lot of work, and unless we know that we want to go down that road. But anecdotally, when you split services and you add vehicles and you change routes, your costs are going to increase. You have extra drivers and extra uncertainty and all of those things.
That was kind of what I was thinking, but I didn't know if there was something else. Thank you.
And then once again, just to reiterate the regional consistency, if you look at ordinances in the city of Spokane and Spokane County, it's part of the ordinance. You're required to have both. So there's no choice in those particular parts of the metro area. All right, next slide, please. All right, so it's a good thing I left this on here since we have the water district here. So resident satisfaction survey highlights. So one of the questions they had was partner services. They ranked all the partner services we have. Waste management and recycling garbage came in second. Drinking water came in first. So both were above 90%. It was very close, but drinking water quality was number one. But for the most part, we get almost across the board positive feedback from the service we're currently getting from waste management. Then last, I just want to go over the legislative update. Did a little bit of more research on this this morning. So this is House Bill 1071. It's really to implement strategies to receive higher rates of recycling. The first read of this bill was the 13th of January. They had a public hearing on the 16th. The companion Senate bill was also first read on the 13th. They're still waiting to schedule that public hearing for that particular bill. So that's something that we were looking at to correlate with our local policies as well as to support city efforts to increase recycling. Questions on that? All right, the last slide. All right, so now we're down to discussion points. I think we obviously we need some more information from Waste Management on those cost impacts, but really just considering if we are willing to offer or going to offer separate a la carte options for our citizens. You know, and how that we can support Waste Management as they complete the account audit. We've talked a little bit. At this point, they haven't asked for any extra help on that audit, but we've really seen some initial draft results soon, and then we can kind of go from there if they need any more additional help from the city. And then obviously we want to align local policies with the current state legislature. All right, so next steps. Sorry, did I have a question? We want to monitor the account audit. Like I said, that should be complete in the next couple of weeks, looking at cost implications with service changes. We are engaging the public currently with the 2025 satisfaction survey and look for any feedback to increase recycling improvements, and then just collaborating with management to align with the current legislative priorities. All right, Allison.
Any questions, Mayor Pro Tem?
So question, and maybe we just haven't gotten to it yet. in the city ordinance review. Do we have an ordinance right now that requires homeowners in the city to have garbage service?
No.
And, okay,
Sorry.
so that's the answer to my first question. Then I guess that kind of answers the second question, which would be perhaps we should consider doing what City of Spokane Valley does, and that is pass an ordinance that requires, if you're going to have a home or business in the city, you have to have garbage service and you have to have recycling service. And then that way, if people want to complain about opting out, they can do so via us and not necessarily via Waste Management or whoever is the garbage service that we have at that particular time.
I don't think we didn't receive any feedback from Waste Management that people are going straight to them. No.
Okay, but they're coming to us.
Possibly.
So why not, I guess is the question, why not take responsibility for it if they're gonna come to us anyways?
But well, I'll speak from experience. We didn't have Waste Management for years. My not so better half had a beef with them. And so he stopped our garbage service and would take stuff to the transfer station every couple of weeks.
So
Does
that
happen.
one of the benefits that some people consider a benefit is the option to self-haul. And so that
Right.
currently exists. And based on the difference between the residential account numbers and the household numbers, there are about 500 households, it looks like, that are self-hauling.
So, I mean, we can't be the only city that runs into that issue. In the city of Spokane, it's Spokane Valley. They just don't give them the option to self-haul?
That's the way I read the City of Spokane ordinance, they don't. And I think it's more the county has an ordinance. So like.
And I can understand why they
Yeah.
would do that
Yeah.
because they don't want people piling up garbage in their backyard.
Correct, yeah.
But
And
Okay.
and that specific piece of it, we have ordinances that don't allow you to accumulate garbage on your property.
Yeah.
So you would be forced in that situation to self-haul or engage in the waste management service.
Councilmember Kurtz.
I guess in that same train of thought, I guess I'd be curious then, what's the fine for not having it? And then is that just that an unpaid bill with whatever the garbage company is, that people aren't gonna pay even though they are supposed to have it? And maybe that's not a question for today,
It's
but
probably more a code enforcement question. I could probably answer for it this evening, but I'm sure it's something to that. Cost of cleanup, things like that.
And I don't know, I assume we can get this information. I don't know what their collection rate is. I assume it's fairly high. I'm talking waste management, their bill collection rate. But that's an unanswered question. I don't know the answer to that.
Councilmember Dunn.
I support the ability for our residents to choose whether or not to self-haul. I strongly support the services provided by Waste Management, my personal experience as a resident. And I do support the inclusion of recycle, specifically to avoid cost increases. I honestly seek to ensure that the services that we're required to provide to the community are the best and the lowest cost position. I think we've gotten there through a lot of negotiation and cooperative work with Waste Management. So I wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize that or to increase costs to our residents.
Councilmember Spencer.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see at least a little bit beyond the superficial as to why they're claiming that it would be an additional cost. I guess the assumption would be then if you're not recycling, it's going to be going into the trash cans. But the trash is picking up every week already. So I'd just be curious, maybe not having them do a full financial analysis on that, but at least a little bit more data as far as what it is that would be causing that additional cost. Because like Councilmember Dunn said, I mean, definitely be in favor of giving citizens the choice if that's really what they're looking for.
I looked up real quick. I looked, Mark, it looked like you were going to respond before I move on.
So I want to follow up on that. I don't want to, staff isn't taking a pro or con position. I just want to make sure I understand it. It would be challenging. And we can, I guess, talk to them about tiers of assumption. But it would be challenging to give a partial financial analysis. But like, again, we'll have to have that conversation and find out based on some tiers of assumption, what that may look like without going through the full motion. And the reason I'm saying that is because that isn't a easy task to perform. If we want them to do that, we will task them to do that. But I would be hesitant to have them do a full financial analysis if we're not moving in that direction. So we would have to build some assumptions that would be maybe, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 kind of thing, which we could do.
Do we know whether all of the communities Waste Management serves is requiring or has set up a similar situation with all other communities requiring that recycling go with garbage service?
In this region, yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Kennedy.
I also be hard pressed to make all of our citizens to sign up for something like that. I think it's great to have the option for individuals who feel that that amount of money would save them, would go to their bottom line is most important. Maybe for the majority of us who may look at that dollar amount, think it's not a huge amount, but I think for some of our citizens, it might be viewed as a huge amount. I'm personally aware of several individuals who share their garbage. And what's interesting, they all happen to be senior citizens. What they've done is that one of them takes the fee, they live alone, they produce very little garbage for the can that they have. So what they do, they combine 2 households and they share the costs. So I see that as a financial advantage to those individuals.
Good point. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
2 follow-up questions. One, you said 500 currently-ish is what they say are the number who have somehow opted out of recycling?
It's the delta, I think, between households and households that have
the-
accounts.
The delta between the number of garbage subscriptions and recycle subscriptions is less than that. The 500 number that I used was roughly the difference between the residential garbage accounts and the number of households that we have in the city.
And then how many accounts do they have in the city?
Roughly 4,800
Okay. And I guess my other question was.
residential accounts.
Yeah.
Residential.
So 500 out of 4,800 is the current math.
So we have
Roughly.
approximately 5,200 residential addresses. So if you just do the delta, there's.
So it's about 10%.
That are self-hauling.
Yeah.
Approximately.
Yeah, that are not taking the recycling.
No.
Neither.
Don't have service at all.
So let me start over.
Okay.
The delta between the number of garbage accounts and recycling accounts is about 250-ish. And that's the audit that's being performed now, is to determine how that's happening, because if you subscribe for garbage, you're automatically enrolled in recycling. You can enroll in only recycling. And so you would expect for there to be more recycling accounts
Right.
potentially, but not fewer.
Right.
And so they're doing that account audit right now, which Ben indicated will be done approximately at the end of February. And so we'll know that answer. Now, switching topics, the question about self-hauling, that's the approximate 500 number that I mentioned.
Got it. Okay.
Which is the difference between the number of residential garbage accounts and the number of residential addresses in the city.
Okay, so somehow 250 have been able to opt out of recycling.
One or the other.
Yeah.
Either opt out or they
Or
were
grandfathered in or
something like that. Yes,
Something,
and the
okay.
audit will answer that question.
Okay, and then I guess my second question is, and part of the reason I asked the first questions is because I can envision a scenario where the legislature passes something that says all the cities in the state over a certain amount have to do recycling. or have to do something like that. And I don't know if it's that particular bill that's coming, that's they're gonna have a hearing on, but I could see a scenario where another bill would say something like that to require that as part of the way to increase the amount of people who are recycling in the state. So part of my reasoning behind asking the question was not necessarily because I want us to, go out and arrest people if they don't recycle, but rather because if we can get ahead of it, then, and it's, it's not a bad thing for people to recycle. It's a good thing. I just feel like it'd be smart for us to have conversations to do that. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Ben.
I just want to end real quick.
Okay.
Those last two, we are working on a solid waste management plan. We're due for an update on that. And we are in the process of scheduling the bulky waste event. Looks like it's gonna be the last Saturday in April. They did mention you can bring your Christmas tree if you still have that line right. It's specifically on the flyer, so I want to mention that.
Take them to Jen.
So that currently, more than likely 27 April, but we'll see lots of public affairs stuff on that coming.
Great, thanks.
And so I guess the question from staff's perspective, does council have a desire for staff to do anything with respect to looking at modifying the contract at this point? Specifically with respect to the recycling provision?
Doesn't sound like.
And just as a quick follow-up, Mayor Pro Tem, it looks like House Bill 1071 is dealing a lot with requiring producers to do certain things with packaging. And it does not have a mandate associated with it. It does have some provisions in there to provide cost reductions for low-income persons and persons on fixed income. So we'll have to keep an eye on this one.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ben. All right, on to general business consent agenda.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve general business consent agenda items. Bear with me here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, and that's it.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. All right, any, all those in favor of approving consent agenda items A through O minus H, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved 7-0.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve general business item 10H, the annual payment for Resource X priority-based budgeting software.
All right, so I'll turn to, do we have a
Need a-
second?
yeah.
Second.
Motion is second by Councilmember Spencer, and Councilmember Ball asked for this move, so I assume you've got a
Yeah,
question.
I have a question. So,
Sure.
I don't, is Kyle on or?
He is.
Yeah, okay, and Mark, so. We had that discussion about the priority-based budgeting, you and Kyle and I a while back, and it's a wonderful idea. But $57,000 for software, it gave me sticker shock, like big time. Is there is there an alternative, a different company other than, who is doing this?
Resource X.
Resource X, I mean, is there somebody else that we could get a bid from? What, I can't fathom that.
So we would 100% agree with you if the cost is only for software. We have services that are included in that rate.
You have what included? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the speed.
Professional services
Okay.
that
My
are included in
apologies.
that rate. And so essentially what that means is that we consider the Resource X team to be an extension of staff. We don't have a budget analyst on staff. And so they provide a lot of those kinds of services. And so that will, as we get deeper into the implementation and internal staff gets mastery of this, that service will taper, right? It won't always be at the level that it is. But for year two, certainly we want to preserve that professional service piece of the agreement so that we can have that staff extension that provides a critical piece of this implementation and management of the system.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, did this go out to competitive bid? Is there nobody else? Is there?
We did not put this out for competitive bid because there are no, Resource X is the market leader. There are other competitors. However, they don't offer priority-based budgeting per se. They offer financial accounting packages that may have, if you're thinking of like a QuickBooks type of interface, some options that may allow you to organize information, but we would be doing all of that, and we would not have the expertise that comes along with the professional services that's specifically in the priority-based budgeting arena.
Okay, any other questions?
Anybody else have anything to say about that?
Okay, so those in favor of approving the annual payment for Resource X in the amount of $57,225, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Okay. Oh, wait, okay. You guys need to make sure you keep your hands, okay. Those opposed, 1, 2.
No, sorry.
All right.
I'm in favor.
Okay, so motion passes 5-2. Thank you.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of Jennifer Chase into position 1 of the Library Board of Trustees.
All right, we have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Dunn, and Jennifer is here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Obviously, everybody has your application, but personal introduction is always welcome, and there may be some questions.
Okay, thanks. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Chase. My husband and I have lived in Liberty Lake for 23 years. This is a great community in which to raise a family, and both our boys attended Liberty Lake Elementary, Green Acres Middle School, and both were graduates of Central Valley High School. We participated in story time and summer reading programs when our boys were younger, and genuinely appreciate the value that the library brings to our community. I am currently the Director of Career and Technical Education, CTE, for the Central Valley School District and have been in education for 30 years. I started as a middle school science teacher, which I loved. Most of my career has focused on instructional coaching and curriculum coordination. I was the science curriculum coordinator in 2 different school districts. Most recently, I served as the middle school assistant principal at Bowdish Middle School and at Green Acres Middle School before I moved to the district office as the CTE director. In all the school districts in which I've worked, I've served on the Instructional Materials Committee. While different districts have a different title, this is the group responsible for approving curriculum and supplemental resources for the school district. I've also facilitated countless curriculum adoptions and approval for school library resources. While I'm here as a private citizen and not a representative of the school district, these are background experiences and knowledge that I can bring to this position. I'm currently a member of the Spokane Valley Chamber of Commerce Education and Workforce Committee. And as a CTE director, I also participate in a variety of program advisory committees with business and industry partners who support our programs. A key component of working with these groups is understanding how to bring together people with different backgrounds and priorities towards a common goal of supporting college, career, and technical pathways for students. I also manage a large budget and several grants that are both competitive and non-competitive. So these are all experiences that I can bring with me to the library board. Finally, I'm a reader. I've been an avid reader my entire life. And when I saw the position available for the library board, I felt this was an important way in which I can serve my community. I've lived here for a long time and my family has thrived here, and I look forward to this opportunity to serve the community.
Great, thank you very much. Great, great background. Does anybody have any questions for Jennifer? No, Member Pro Tem.
Jennifer, can you just tell us a little bit about your philosophy on keeping us informed, keeping the communication going between the board and the council?
I think it's very important for everyone to be heard, for everyone to be listened to. I think listening is often more important than speaking. And I think being open and sharing the work between both organizations is really important because we all have to work together.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Oh, thank you. Excellent qualifications. I appreciate that. Let me ask you a question, is that, because we've had a lot of controversy because of the library back and forth on it. Do you see your participation or the individual you'll be working with as advisors to the council or independent?
That's a great question. I've done a cursory look at the library policies. I've dug into a few of them, and I've done a little bit of research into the
task set for a library board of trustees as far as Washington State is concerned. So I think the distinction between those two is really important, and I'm not completely certain I have enough background knowledge to speak to that. But I would say that working together is really important versus working independently.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Right, not hearing any. All those in favor of appointing Jennifer to the Library Board of Trustees, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Aye. Motion passes 6-1. Thanks,
Thank you.
welcome, and Jandy will get
Thanks.
you hooked up on the next meeting.
Thank you. very much.
Welcome.
Mayor, I will, well,
Huh?
I'll make a motion to, appoint Councilmember Kennedy to the STA Board of Directors.
Do you, before we take a second, is that something you're interested in?
It just says appoint someone, so.
Well, I will say that I have heard from the other small cities. I know Dan rotated out of our small cities, but I have heard from the other small cities representatives that they would like to have him back, just if we want to add that.
I'll amend my motion and make a motion to approve Councilmember Dunn to the SDA Board of Directors.
I'll second.
Excuse me, I believe I was asked a question and I had the right to answer. How many ways can I say no?
I saw a look on your face, so I figured I'd jump in. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions for, go ahead, Doug.
I just say I'm honored to help out, and it's an interesting crew cast characters, and I look forward to trying to express how small cities work and keeping you guys up to date with what they do.
I think you've done a great job keeping us up to date on what's going on. And though I did forget to ask earlier, those bridges that the semis always run into downtown, I hope they've measured those 2-story buses.
That was absolutely a point of great certainty.
All right, so go ahead, Councilmember Van
One
Limmen.
point I'd like to make is for anybody that has served on the STA board, we all know exactly how big of books those are for every single meeting. Thank you for taking that on.
All right, so those in favor of appointing Councilmember Dunn to the STA board, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0.
Okay, I will make a motion to award the lease for the Trailhead Restaurant space to Chavalitas.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Not hearing any? No discussion? Okay, Councilmember Ball.
So, I've said this before, but I feel that 3 Mexican restaurants within walking distance of each other is not sustainable. Someone will fail. And, you can go across the border, to the valley, and there's a couple more within striking distance. We are going to add to our ongoing joke in the city about having nothing but Denniston Pizza. We'll add Mexican restaurant to that. So, I am in favor of Saranac simply because it's a little bit more imaginative. It's something we don't have. And it's something that I believe will draw folks from Spokane and, or not from Spokane, I'm sorry, from Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls who would choose to come to our Saranac as opposed to driving all the way to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Dunn.
I'll also speak in opposition to the motion. I think that the Saranac bid reflects most what we'd earlier introduced as the originally intended operator. I think that further, echoing Councilmember Ball's observations, I think that people would want to consider something that is not here already, so that to have something which is unique, I think would be better. I further think that the cost basis or somehow the cash flow basis of this alone is not the determinant. We don't hire our public park operator, for example, our parks and services operators for the, running our park programs because we make more money than someone else. We do it because they're excellent in service. And there's something that our communities said they definitely want. With respect to what our community wants, I think they've also spoken clearly. So I would rather see Saranac in that location.
Thank you. Councilmember Kennedy.
Well, this has been an interesting subject. We have been working for a long, long time to try to find a restaurant that would be successful there. The thing I'm impressed with both companies who've come forward is that their financial statements look very good, that I think if either one went in there financially, I think to be able to do it. I have to take exception though, to some of the comments that are made against what type of a restaurant we want to have in town. And that we become part of the joke about how many dentist offices and things of that sort of there. We are an entity that encourages people to come to this town to buy their homes, to raise their children here, to pay their taxes. And the same thing with businesses also. Now, when it comes to, you're right, Councilman Dan, that we don't hire some of these individuals on what they're going to bring to it. But there is an RCW, it's referred to as the Enterprise Fund. And that fund is really very clear. But what it says is basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, you know better than I on this, that if we're taking citizen tax money and putting into things such as Trailhead and a restaurant, then it has to charge sufficient rates to be able to cover all the costs. In other words, show a profit or at least break even. So for me, what I have to look at is that for making a decision that I could have both equally qualified. But it comes down to which is monetarily best for the citizens of Liberty Lake. That's what I have to look at. And the difference that I see is that between the two, we would receive back, if they lasted 20 years, $555,847 more if we award one in restaurant versus the other, of which I would hope both of them would be successful, whoever that may be. That comes down to be $26,792 a year less the citizens of Liberty Lake will receive, only because what I hear, because we don't want another Mexican restaurant. Now, the thing that just blows me away, that I had a citizen point this out to me, and I'm really appreciated that the person did, said it seemed like what one of the restaurants has going against it is the Mexican name. And the person made a comment to me, have you looked at the menu? And I said, yeah, I did. He says, no, have you really looked at the menu? So I did look at the menu again, and I brought it with me. I have both menus. And what's interesting is that the issue has been, we don't want another Mexican restaurant here. What I've looked at in the menu of one restaurant, I've identified 12 very distinct items that have to do with the Mexican restaurant. But now the other restaurant, when I look at their menu, they have 6 specific items that is related to Mexican. So on one hand, we have 6. On the other hand, we have 12. Are we so ridiculous that we're against a Mexican restaurant because it's Mexican food, and yet we're so excited about one that also has Mexican food? So based on that, for me, it was very simple. I ruled out what their menus are. My decision is based on what's the best financial for the city. And it becomes very clear and obvious who I would vote for. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, thank you again to everyone who's been involved in this process. I think unfortunately, the process has taken way too long to get us to this point tonight, but we're here. I know Chavalitas is here. Is Saranac here? Saranac's here. Thank you. I appreciate you being here because one of the issues that I had previously was that I felt like I didn't have enough information from Saranac, and I felt like I didn't see you guys as much as I saw Chavalitas. To me, this entire discussion should have never included the names of the restaurants. And the reason is because we are not qualified up here to say which restaurant is better. We're not qualified to say who has the best food. We're not qualified to say we should have Italian or Mexican or French food or whatever. All we have to go on up here, as I said before, is what it would mean for the city, the financial health of the city and the health of the city coffers, because it's our building. And as Councilmember Kennedy pointed out, one of the restaurants brings in substantially more to the city than the other does. If all things were equal, I would have a really tough time making a decision. but all things are not equal. The numbers in the packet, and I would encourage anyone listening to this online or afterwards to go in the packet and look at the numbers that we're looking at. And then if you look at those numbers and you can still say vote for Saranac, I just can't get there. I do want to issue kind of an apology to the Chevalitas folks, because there have been comments from this dais that have been very inappropriate in my opinion, talking about how Mexican food wasn't upscale or classy enough for our city, something that I think owed you all an apology. But again, when it comes right down to it, we have to make a decision based on the numbers. And the numbers are extremely clear as to which one will be the financial winner for the city, and that's Chevalitas. So that's why I made that motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Spencer and then Councilmember Kurtz.
Yeah, I'll just add a few comments, and similar to some of the citizen comments that we heard tonight. Chavalitas came out of the chutes with a presentation, a strong presentation, a strong reputation. I thought the way the numbers were presented to us were a little bit misleading originally, because it came out in the discussions, it was showing a term of 10 years, but then at the bottom line was a 20-year return. And I mentioned in one of the conversations that if we took that 20-year return and moved it down to 10 years, that the case for Saranac was very bleak, because I'm trying to understand in what scenario it would be acceptable for us to provide a lease for 10 years to a restaurant, and in which we only net $30,000 or $40,000. It just doesn't make sense financially. So I will be voting in favor of the motion.
Councilmember Kurtz, you're next.
I just wanted to thank both of the restaurants for engaging in the process. And as has been mentioned, it's been a long process, and I think difficult for everybody throughout the time. But I wanted to say that we'd be lucky to have either one of them in our community. And I hope that whichever restaurant is not chosen considers joining our community in other capacity.
Councilmember Bjorn, we haven't heard from you. Anything?
Yes, as long as I can talk. I too am very thankful that both of you are here and that you've given me extra time, because I did miss one of those meetings. And the fact that our staff was able to go ahead and do an intent and really narrow down those numbers. I'm a numbers person, have been running my family business for the last 25 years. And while both are great as far as financially sound, one is better for the city than the other, and it's basically numbers. So I will be voting in favor of the motion.
All right, there's no more comments. Everybody's had a chance. Go ahead and take a vote. So those in favor of approving the lease with Chevalitas, I know you added to the grill and cantina. Was that what the full name was? Yeah. Sorry, I knew it had been extended, so I want to say the whole name. So all those in favor of approving Chevalita's lease, please say aye.
Aye.
I think we got 5, and those opposed. All right, motion passes 5-2. When can you move in? Congratulations. All right. So next up are council comments. Any further council comments, not including future agenda items? Councilmember Ball.
I just wanted to say that I'm not surprised by the outcome of this vote we just took for our beautiful Trailhead Clubhouse. I wish Chavalitas much success. I think it's going to be tough given the competition within the city, and that these other restaurants, 2 of them are within walking distance. But I would like to add also some thoughts I've been having after the last meeting about the city in general. This isn't 2001 when the city was founded. That was 24 very long years ago. And I think that people want variety. Not only that, we are agents of the people. And the people shouldn't be made to feel that only city council knows what's best for them. I think that's a very hubris behavior. I think it would be wonderful to include amenities we don't have, to make Liberty Lake a destination. It's as though the majority on this council want to move backward, not forward, with the direction of the city. And therefore, I believe a lot of our citizens are exhausted with some of the decisions that the majority on this council have been making. And I wanted to point out that 3 of the gentlemen on this council are up for re-election this year. When I ran 2 years ago, I was, and still am.
Excuse me.
Is there a point of order?
Yeah, yeah.
Point of order.
Thank you. Is this,
Oh,
just hold on. Have a point of what, state the point.
I think point of order, that those comments are leading to very inappropriate for the discussion.
oh, okay.
So hold, I just want to check with,
The issue about campaigning, you can't have this guy.
Oh, no, I was just gonna remind people there's an election
Okay.
coming up.
okay, we get that,
That's
but we need to keep our comments
Okay.
not personal and leave
Okay.
that out. So I will.
I would just like
prove
to
the point.
to say, though, that I think it would be wonderful to move forward and not backward.
Thank you. Got it. Any further council comments? All right. Not hearing any. We are up to public hearings and appeals. Public hearing on proposed amendments to the limited use standards for emergency housing and shelters. We will call Lisa up.
Good evening,
I'm
Mayor,
gonna get some
council.
water. Keep going.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Evan, if you can pull that up for me. I'm going to go fairly quickly through this. This is a public hearing. But because we did the workshop at the 6 o'clock hour, I want to make sure that the public has a concept of what the hearing is about. So I will, high level. Next slide, please. So basically, this is making amendments to the limited use standards for emergency housing and shelters. And so to start off, the comprehensive plan says that, or the Growth Management Act requires us to do a land capacity analysis to look at, to accommodate housing types presumed to be affordable to all income segments of the population, from extremely low to higher income, but also for permanent and supportive housing, and in this particular case, for emergency housing and shelters. Next slide, please. So what are we talking about when we talk about emergency housing and emergency shelters? These definitions come from the RCWs. It's temporary indoor, emergency housing is temporary indoor accommodations for individuals or families who are homeless or at imminent risk of becoming homeless, that is intended to address the basic health, food, clothing, personal hygiene needs of individuals or families. It may or may not require occupants to enter into a lease or an occupancy agreement. And then an emergency shelter is a facility that provides a temporary shelter for individuals or families who are currently homeless. Emergency shelters may include day and warming centers that do not provide overnight accommodations. Next slide, please. So basically, RCW 3521-683 required us to adopt zoning that would allow for emergency shelters in any zone that allowed hotels and motels. We did that back in 2021. It had to be done by September 30th. We got it in just under the wire. We got, that was legislation that was passed earlier in that session. We did not have the benefit of any administrative code to kind of put up the sideboards on how this was done. One of the things that we did was we included limited use standards for the emergency shelters to include both spacing requirements and occupancy limits. Next slide, please. So basically, back to this quantitative land capacity analysis. We're required to do the land capacity analysis specifically to see how many emergency housing units or beds in this case unless our code is written to not require as long as it meets the following criteria, that the jurisdiction has one or more zone that allows hotels, all of which allow for emergency housing. So we're good there. We also have no regulations that limit occupancy beyond building and fire occupancy limits or limit them through spacing or intensity of emergency housing. Unfortunately, we have those requirements in there right now. In terms of our allocation of housing, we've finished the land capacity analysis, and we have looked at what our projected housing needs are for 2046. Among those, we're looking at having to demonstrate that we have the ability to provide 227 emergency housing beds. With the limits that we have right now, there's no way that we would come even close to being able to meet that requirement. So we need to amend the development code to eliminate spacing requirements and revise occupancy limits. Again, next slide, please. What are the zones that allow for hotels? Are mixed use zones, the M1, M2, M3, commercial zones, C1 and C2, and river district zones, RDM and RDC. Keep in mind that this ordinance has been in place since 2021, and we haven't seen any movement on this at all, in part because the land in Liberty Lake is too expensive. And we've got very limited at what you'll see when I workshop the land capacity analysis with you next time is that nearly all of the land already has entitlement to it, which means that it's already in the process of being developed. So next slide, please. So these are the changes we need to make to comply with code, and if we make these changes, we don't have to go through the process of doing the capacity analysis. So we're eliminating the requirement or the maximum number of residents per facility, which was previously 75 residents. We're also eliminating the spacing requirement that you can't have any of these facilities closer than 3/4 of a mile. We're a 6 1/4 square mile city. That's problematic in a city our size. And lastly, the facility must be located within 1/4 mile of a fixed transit route. So by eliminating those, we can demonstrate those 3 requirements. And those are standards that are in all the zones that allow for emergency housing, which is why I have this, you'll see it in all of those zones that we're proposing these changes. Next slide, please. So we've gone through a process. This has gone before the Planning Commission. They workshopped it in November. They had, we noticed it for hearing purposes. They held their hearing in December 3rd, and they made they held their hearing on December 11th and made a recommendation. And we did a city council workshop on December 17th. I'm sorry, the date dropped off of that. Next slide, please. You'll find in the staff report a listing of the relevant comp plan goals. I'm not going to read them to you, but we do have some comp plan goals that support this amendment. Next slide, please. And the Planning Commission made the following findings: that the required SEPA review had been completed on the proposed amendment, that all public and agency notice requirements were met and accomplished in a timely manner. The public was provided the opportunity for early and continuous participation. The public had the opportunity to submit written comments and testify at a public hearing before the Planning Commission. Next slide, please. And they came to the following conclusions: that the amendment is consistent with the comp plan and is not detrimental to the public welfare. The amendment is not warranted by a change in economic, technological, or land use conditions. The amendment is not necessary to correct an error. The amendment is necessary to clarify meaning or intent. The amendment is necessary to provide for a use that was not previously addressed. And the amendment is necessary as being in the public interest. So the planning commission, next slide, please, recommended unanimously that the amendments that are in your packet be approved. And with that, next slide, please. So our next steps, this is a public hearing. So once you've heard the public testimony, I'd ask the council deliberate on this so that if you so direct me, I can prepare an ordinance for your council meeting in February. And
All
with
right.
that, I stand for any questions.
You want me to open the public hearing first? Okay, so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 9:04. If there's anybody in the council chambers who'd like to comment on the proposed amendments to the limited use standards for emergency housing and shelters, you can make a comment during this period. It's only on that topic. So if there's anybody here, please feel free to come to the mic. If there's anybody online who'd like to make a comment, please let our meeting host know. Does anybody on council while we're waiting, would you like to make a comment? Okay, so we have David Clay.
Lisa, the only thing I would ask is, could you define in that ordinance, because it's an emergency shelter, but you refer to residents in there and how long those residents could end up staying there? Is that possible? Just not real clear.
It's not real clear because the emergency housing could be more of a temporary transitional, where they have a lease or don't have a lease. It could also be shelter, which is by its very definition, temporary. So it might be a nightly stay but yes, it depends on what the facility is, what the program is, moving forward. So we really can't define that in this ordinance because the definitions are set by the RCWs.
All right, is anybody else in chambers or online would like to make a comment on this specific topic? Anybody online? All right, we will close the public hearing at 9:05. All right, so you're looking for direction, Lisa. So is there any objection from the council for Lisa bringing this back? Did not hearing any objections. All right, thanks. Okay, next we have resolution 25-271, Kelsey.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 25-271, a resolution of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, approving the final plat of Hawkstone 5th Edition, located in portions of the northeast quarter of Section 11, Township 25N, Range 45 EWM, Liberty Lake, Washington, File P62E.
Okay, all right, do we have a motion and a second for discussion? I will remember public comment. I know you're looking at me from the side. Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll make a motion to move resolution 25-271.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilmember Dunn. Any questions from the council on this? Not seeing any. Okay, so before we go to a vote of the council for resolutions, we do as well ask for public comment. So if there's anybody in chambers or online who'd like to make a comment on this resolution specifically, please let us know. I don't see anybody in chambers. We have anybody online? All right, not hearing any. All right, all those in favor of approving resolution 25-271, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have no ordinances, no emergency ordinances. Introduction of upcoming agenda items. You have the updated list in front of you. So we've talked about recycling service. We have scheduled for the next meeting at 6 p.m. workshop on the land capacity analysis with Lisa. And tentatively for the 4th, the rules of procedure and commission appointment process. Are those groups or people prepared for the 4th? Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor, I have three, an answer to that question and then three others. So I'm wondering if the council would be okay with moving the commission appointment process to the February 18th meeting. And then I wanted to throw on here, not necessarily for any specific meeting, but what we previously talked about with the code enforcement relating to items in the streets, just a workshop discussion on that. And then I'm gonna wait on the rental of the ball field since, Mark, it sounds like you're gonna have an answer on that hopefully sooner rather than later. So we can just hold off on putting that on there.
It'll be this week.
Okay.
yeah.
And then I wanted to see if we can add to the February 4th meeting, a discussion about whether to put the library issue to a public vote. The library construction. And a workshop discussion on that.
Okay. Make note of that. Was there any issue with regards to the commission appointment process, moving that to the 18th? Didn't hear anybody object. Okay. All right, so we've got tentatively for the 18th as well. I'm assuming this would be a 6 p.m. master facilities plan. And then a joint workshop in March. We also have social media and length of meetings. I think Councilmember Perch, you were working on some of that.
Yeah, so I talked with, well, Mark talked with me, I guess, last week about trying to loop in the length of meetings because it is part of the rules of procedure, those topics together.
Got it.
So our subgroup is having our first meeting on Friday. So after that, I think we give an update on whether we think we're ready for the 4th or need to just keep working on it or not.
Okay. Well, once at least we'll just make sure you just report on it during council reports and then we can take a look at the date. All right, Transparency Act, Councilman Ricardo, that's still on there as TBD.
Yeah, we were just gonna codify it. So whenever we have that, doesn't, it's not specific to a date. But I did have a question about the March 18th before we move too far
March.
down.
Oh, there we go, yeah.
If, so that's a council meeting night. So is the plan to do that town hall here in the 6 o'clock? And then proceed to our regular council meeting? Or what?
I think it's the topic is next town hall.
Oh,
second
I'm
one.
sorry. I'm
See,
sorry.
am I
So that
reading
is
right?
not a town hall.
Am I reading that right, Mark?
Yeah, so the Community Engagement Commission is preparing to, and I don't know if that date has been set yet. They discussed it at their last meeting. What they proposed to do was during their next joint workshop with the council, whenever that ends up being, is to talk about the topic for the next town hall and to talk
Got it.
about scheduling.
Okay, I misunderstood. I apologize.
Easy to do on this one. Okay, all right. Anything else? And we do have TBD on March 1st for the secondhand smoke. All right, anybody else have any suggestions for additions? All right, and we're getting our ordinance stuff back on the calendars. I'm gonna send out an updated spreadsheet to everybody. I will say to that team, they have not backfilled for my old position at Tier Point as I try to move into my new one. So I'm doing 2 full-time jobs there right now. I've told my new boss that, and I told her I haven't been able to do anything. So I may be scarce on some of those ordinance review meetings, but that's why I'll make sure we get that file out to everybody. All right, nobody has anything else for that. Are there any additional citizen comments before we adjourn? Looks like we've got one. So again, online, if there's anybody, please send a note to our meeting host in chat. Vanessa, help me say your last name. Okay, all right, come on up.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for giving us this opportunity. I won't fail you guys. The amount of energy I put into the business plan is what I will put into the business. I work the business that we have right now. Right now I'm the heart of the business since my dad retired. And I have a great team that supports me. They're the ones that are saying, Vanessa, go get the restaurant. They're the ones backing me. They're the ones saying, you have so much enthusiasm for the restaurant industry. I live and breathe it. This wasn't my path that I was going to take in life, but I love it. I love providing high, excellent service to people, giving them what they want. I mean, you go out to eat sometimes and you want to feel like you're remembered. And I have that. I remember what you order. I remember your face. You sit down, I'll be like, oh, are we doing the usual? How's everyone doing? How are your kids? How's your dog? I remember those little things and I will bring that to Liberty Lake. And I grew up in this area. I lived in this area. My friends are here supporting me. I have a good reach of people that will come support this business that already live here. And then I have a big clientele in Coeur d'Alene, and a lot of people in Liberty Lake come to see me in Coeur d'Alene already. So thank you for the opportunity. I won't fail you guys.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you. All right, anybody online? No, all right, looks like David Clay, would you like to make another comment? I'll put you,
Real quick, Mayor.
put you down here
Um,
times two.
Thank you for the opportunity to address secondhand smoke in March. I would offer up the opportunity. Dr. Char Day is the state director for the American for Non-Smokers' Rights. She's willing to send her PhD, who did all their research, here to provide a presentation and briefing to the workshop if so desired. So just let me know. I would be glad to set that up for you.
Great, if you can work with Mark on that, since you've
I
already
will.
been discussing.
Thank
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, hearing no more citizen comments, we have no executive sessions, so there's nothing else before the council. I'm not seeing or hearing anything. We are adjourned.